Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It's a beautiful morning. Glad to see the sunshine. So let's just all take a moment and take a big, deep breath. Welcome to this beautiful place where we come together this morning to support one another on our spiritual journey, to see that divine presence in each other. Right here, right now, you are exactly where you need to be. There are no mistakes in the mind of God. We have come here for a holy and beautiful purpose. Right here, right now. I invite you to sing along with me this very simple song. Right here, right now. We come into the presence of God.
I am a creator of miracles, moment by moment, choice by choice. In his letter to the Ephesians, Paul shares a powerful vision of what a spiritual community can accomplish through the teachings and examples of Jesus Christ. It is a vision of unity, Jew and Gentile alike, finding fellowship and a spiritual understanding that transcends laws and rituals that once separated them. And I would like to add, though it's not in Ephesians, let us imagine that the Muslims are also there, that the Buddhists are there, that the Hindus are there, the Sikhs are there. They are all together sharing and transcending rituals and laws, just like we are as unity people. Paul emphasized that this will happen to and through us, our way shower, the shower of the way, demonstrated the possibility and taught the essential principles. That vision of love and unity is still waiting to express fully. We're still working on it. We must relinquish our resistance, turn our focus from mortal concerns to eternal truth, and allow Spirit within to do the work of creating the kingdom through us. And here are some words directly from Ephesians. Now to God, who by the power at work within us is able to accomplish abundantly, far more than we can imagine. God be the glory.
This is a song which is a call for all of us to see God in everything, to see that divine presence. I see joy, I see peace, I see goodness surrounding me. I see love in every breath I breathe. I see God in everything. I see happiness, I see freedom. I see the beauty that lives in me. I see perfection in what life brings. I see God. Take it deeper and you feel it. Come on. I feel joy, I feel peace, I feel goodness surrounding me. I feel love in every breath I breathe. I feel God in everything. I feel happiness, I feel freedom. I feel the beauty that lives in me. I feel perfection in what life brings. I feel God in everything. I'm going to do it 2 more times. I'm going to choose, and the most important thing to know, let's choose. Yeah, there's always a choice. Next, I choose joy, I choose peace, I choose goodness surrounding me. I choose love in every breath I breathe. I choose God in everything. I choose happiness, I choose freedom. I choose the beauty that lives in me. I choose perfection in what life brings. I choose God in everything. I know joy, I know peace, I know goodness surrounding me. I know love in every breath I breathe. I know God's in everything. I know happiness, I know freedom. I know the beauty that lives in me. I know perfection in what life brings. I know God's in everything. Yes, I know God's in everything. Don't need to chant here. Here we go. Namaste, 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 yeah, namaste, yeah. Namaste. Fade that out. So I'll just take a big deep breath, becoming centered here in this place. You are in this moment exactly where you need to be. This group of people in this space at this time, in this building, will never ever happen exactly like this again. So this is a holy, special, and sacred time. Orchestrated by Spirit, perfectly unfolding. Knowing that this is true, just for a moment allow yourself to relax into this perfect holy instant. As best you can, begin to let go of thoughts, ideas, schedules, lunch, concerns. As best you can, begin to allow yourself to become empty. For what we know is that within each and every one of us in this very moment, there is a vast sacred space in the invisible, beyond your body, beyond this world. This vast sacred space is who you really are, your essential self, created in the very image and likeness of God. We access this sacred space within us as we allow our minds to become still, present, to relax into this holy moment. So we hear those words that say, be still, and know invite you to join me on an inward journey. Sometimes we call this meditation, prayer. Whatever label we have, it is simply the letting go of our thoughts, the letting go of our concerns, bringing all of our energy and focus right here, right here, right now. So I'd invite you to continue to relax. Feel yourself supported by the chair. Take a moment to see if there may be any tension that you're holding on to in your body. And just simply give yourself permission to relax. Remove any tension in your legs. Allow your abdomen to relax. Feel your shoulders gently drop. Releasing tension from your neck, your forehead. Allow your face to soften. Becoming still. Present. And as your body continues to relax, becoming comfortable and centered in this moment, begin to consciously pay attention to your breath, breathing in deeply, watching that life-giving breath as your lungs expand. And then letting go. Letting all of your focus and attention on your breath. Breathing in. Letting go. Take a moment to realize that you are so loved and adored by this beneficent, loving presence. That even without your participation, your body beats your heart and breathes your lungs, even while you sleep. For within you in this moment is your essential self, your true self. Timeless, ageless, forever loving, forever loved, spirit, whole, perfect, complete. As your body continues to become still and quiet, take just a moment and see what thoughts may be in your mind. What ideas, maybe some chatter, concerns. Realizing that you have the choice. You have the power to choose for your mind to become still and empty and open. For in that sacred space between your thoughts, in the gap, this is where miracles happen. This is where transformation happens. This is where healing happens. Be still. Be still and know that all is well. Despite the circumstances of your life, in this moment, all is well. And for this we say thank you, God. Thank you, God. So we move into the silence, listening. Listen. That still small voice. In the silence. From this place of stillness, we are only left for gratitude. Thankful that no matter what has happened in our lives, that in this moment, you are exactly as God created you. Nothing can change what God has made whole. And for knowing this, we are eternally grateful as we say, thank you, God, and so it is. Amen. You can go home now. Gentlemen, you cross with us all now. Certainly. Thank you. Gentlemen, everybody. Oh, awesome. Thank you. Perfect. Ask and you shall receive. So good morning, everybody, once again. Good morning. So good to see some new faces, some old friends. It's just wonderful. It's kind of like a family reunion without the potato salad.
Not upstairs afterwards, yeah.
Oh, there's some upstairs? Very cool. I was talking to someone earlier, some of you may know, if you've heard me speak in the past, that both of my parents were Pentecostal ministers and a full recovery is expected. And we knew how to do church, I tell you. Talk about music. Sometimes my dad would get wound up and he would speak till maybe 1 o'clock, then we'd go to the back and eat some chicken and start right over again. So, but it's wonderful to be here. Since I last saw many of you, my life has taken a big turn, and I've spoken to some people before service that since the time I saw many of you, I've now become the senior minister at Unity of Metairie in the New Orleans area. So if you're ever in the New Orleans area, please come and see us. We are a rocking group of, we do church New Orleans style, what can I say? Instead of singing to the children, you are the light, you are the light, we say, we love you hard, 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 we swear to God. That's New Orleans style. But last week at my center in New Orleans, we had a Bernie Bowl like many churches did, and I believe I heard someone saying that you had one here as well. We usually have ours actually on New Year's Eve. There's just something special about having it at night. And in past years, we've had it, whatever night New Year's Eve fell on, we had it at night. It was just wonderful. And so this year, of course, since New Year's Eve was on Sunday, we combined and had it in one service. And it was just a beautiful time for us. And there was a running joke. I've been there 5 years now. There was always an explosion every year with the fire, because we made like a real fire. We didn't do little candles and stuff, and we would set up a fire outside, and every year there was some kind of explosion of some sort. Including last year, the person that got the bowl for us didn't realize that there was some plastic in the middle of the bowl. So as it got hotter, the plastic caught on fire, and this black smoke came billowing into the sanctuary. So this year, for the very first time, it went off without a hitch, and so we are so grateful for that. And so, as many of you did, we talked about, in the Bernie Bowl, of letting go. That's what the Bernie Bowl is about, letting go. And what I talked about, the talk, which was very short, because it took a while to get everyone through, is what I've learned the difference between setting resolutions and setting intentions. And the difference between that. And I think it's important, at least for me, to realize how much I have changed internally about how I set goals and how I listen. Because in the end, no matter how smart we think we are and how many workshops we've been to and how many times we've seen Marianne Williamson, there's things in our lives that are just going to happen that we cannot control. And spiritual masters have told us that spiritual mastery is not actually getting a lot of stuff, although that can be a benefit. If you've seen The Secret, just make a vision board, and you better be careful what you ask for, because you'll get it. But really, spiritual mastery is not just getting the stuff, which is okay to have the stuff. True spiritual mastery is maintaining a true sense of peace no matter what's happening with the stuff or with our relationships. And with our Bernie Bowl last week, we talked about this quite a bit, in the sense that resolutions usually come from a sense of lack or missing something. Resolutions are usually, I'm missing dollars in my bank account, so I'm setting a resolution to be more productive and prosperous this year. There's nothing wrong with that. Or maybe if we haven't felt very good that year, we may set a resolution of saying, this year I am going to be healthier. I'm going to go to the gym more. Now, it always cracks me up at my gym in New Orleans, because at the first of the year, there's like 400 extra people all of a sudden with their little outfits on. You can tell they went and bought little costumes to go to the gym. They got like their tennis shoes are like all clean and white, and they're prancing around. I think they prance around more than actually go to machines. And of course, it's aggravating if you go all the time, because you're waiting in line for the machines. And the thing about it is, by the time that first box of Valentine candy comes out in February, they're done. That's it. That's the point. Never make it past there. And of course, in New Orleans, we roll right from Christmas into carnival season. Actually, last night was the very first parade in New Orleans. And so we know that resolutions, that's why they don't work, is because they come usually from a sense of lack, from a sense of needing something. And guess what? You're already whole. If you don't realize it, if you're not aware of it, that doesn't make any difference. You're already whole in this moment, and you have everything that you need. And more importantly, you are everything that you need. You are everything that you will ever need in this moment. Another way to put it is this, and some people feel very uncomfortable with this statement, but you cannot get any holier than you are right in this moment. Kind of make you squirm a little bit? Well, growing up in my church, we would have been blasphemous to say that we were holy, but it only makes sense. If you were created in the image and likeness of God, and you're God's stuff, you would have to be holy. Because the essence and power that is God is holy, and holy is simply wholeness. So when we set resolutions, we're basically setting ourselves up for failure, because what we're saying is that I'm not whole, I need something, make a list, I set resolutions, and usually by February, March they fail, and then I start again back in January, setting the same list of things. So what's very different from that is setting intentions. And intentions come from that deep well within us that knows that it knows. The part of us that knows what's going to happen 2 years from now, that knows what happened many years ago, that knows all of the entire picture, that knows that the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning to the end. That part of us that knows the biggest desires of your heart, not only knows them, but place those desires there. And when we set intentions, they come from a very deep place that's led by Spirit. And it can be very transformational. I'm kind of playing with, I'm 54 years old now, glad to say. I feel like I'm 21. Has anybody ever gone to like a reunion or something and said, who are these old people? Seriously, that's what I felt. When I went to my high school reunion, we had our 30th recently. And honestly, I just thought, who are these old people? Like, I don't know these people. And a friend said, well, you're just as old as they are. And I was like, hopefully I don't look like that. I mean, nothing bad, but I thought, I feel like I'm 21 or maybe even 18 or 14 at sometimes. And it was just funny just to see, wow, 54 years old and still trying to figure it all out. We're all in this together, just trying to figure it out. One of the things that I've had to overcome as being a minister is how, and Carol, I don't know if you ever expected this before, but people expect you to hold some high standard all the time. And finally, I just tell people, look, I'm just a guy dressed in a minister's costume, like a Halloween costume, here to help facilitate awakening for everyone, but no different from you, because we all are ministers. Everyone in this room is a minister. So when we set intentions, they come from the very deepest part of us. They are led by Spirit, and when that happens, it can be a very beautiful unfolding of life when we trust in those intentions that come from us. And what I was going to say once again about the gym, so I decided at 54 I was going to see how far I could take this as far as like working out, and I hadn't tried this like since I was in my 20s. I used to go to the gym, I was like a gym rat in my 20s. And I thought, well, if our mind really can set intentions and we can create anything that we want, why can't I be hot at 60? So that's my goal. Hot at 60. Anybody on board with me? They're hot at 70. Hot at 80, whatever. 100, yeah, absolutely. And it's been really fun. And the reason I'm using the gym as an example is because it's a practical way to look at what I'm talking about, because I remember going to the gym from a sense of fear. That I wasn't good enough, that I had a bad self-image, I didn't have to learn yet to love myself. And so I went because I felt like I lacked something. And I would work out, I'd stay on the treadmill till my legs fell off, and I'd lift weights. And it was for a different reason. And now I've set the intention about, let's have some fun with this. I go to the gym because after I run 5 miles, I feel good. And I can think clearly, and my meditations are better. And then whatever happens physically is just, a little cherry on the icing, or whatever we say. And it's been just really a lot of fun to experiment with this and see what can really happen when we set intentions like that. Did anybody set some cool intentions this year? Anybody? Anybody want to share any of them? Yes?
I want to move to Mobile as soon as possible, as soon as I sell my place.
All right, so you're going to move, well, I love that, that's my hometown is Mobile.
Is it?
My family still lives there, so I've seen, there's been a healing by the poker machines, I can see it happening. So we know that for you, and is there a reason for that? Do you have a desire for that?
Better employment.
Uh-huh.
The beach is also helpful.
The beach?
Beach.
Oh, yeah. I spent all December at the beach.
California, you'd be in long lines,
Yes.
paying a hefty fee like we down the beach.
Yes?
I lived in California over 15 years, did
Yes.
everything from A to Z, parking artist, wedding photographer, a machinist, template maker, if I missed anything. First job was
My
a
goodness.
bus boy. I'm trying to think anything else.
This is your life. Well, we know that for you, and how wonderful, and I believe it can happen very quickly for you in whatever format that can happen. So, and I love just the beach because my sister, I have a sister that's 20 years older than me. The very first event I ever went to in my life, as I was a little tiny child, I was born in October, and when I was 2 months old, I went to my sister's college graduation. So I sometimes think what was going through my mom's head is she's this mother who's 40 years old, she's holding a 2-month-old infant and then watching her daughter graduate from college. I said high school, she actually graduated from college. And I have a sister 20 years older, and so she gifted me this year. She said, you've been working really hard this year with the church. It's hard work running a church, I could tell you, man. I had somebody say before, well, you're only there, you just go there for an hour and a half on Sunday and see. I was like, well, we need to chat. We need to go to Starbucks for like 3 or 4 hours. And so my sister gifted me a condo at Orange Beach at Gulf Shores for the entire month of December. Believe me, I took advantage of it. So I'm with you about the beach thing. Christmas at the beach is amazing. It's awesome. I loved it. So we set those intentions. Anybody else set some intentions? Yes, Greg. My good friend Greg, I hadn't seen him for like 8 years or so.
Yeah, my job's Project Love, and not to let anything pull me off Project Love. And my 2 disciplines that are most important for me right now are meditation and yoga.
Wow, yes. I love that. And when you set an intention like that, everything else unfolds around it. I'm doing the exact same thing. I have never done yoga before, and I just started actually back in December. Man, it is rocking my world. And it's hard, too. You see them doing all these positions, like, oh, anybody can do that. Man, I was huffing and puffing, and there was all like these, there was only 2 other guys there, and most of it were females, and they're like, la, 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 and here I was, this guy, I'm like huffing and puffing on the floor. It was so embarrassing. But to me, it's more of the spiritual aspect of it is so powerful. I will tell you that if you set those kind of intentions, everything else takes care of itself. If you would spend time meditating, have a spiritual practice, yoga, or anything else that helps you just connect with the divine, most everything else takes care of itself. It's starting from the inside out. Yes, we have our gentleman visiting.
Well, I do have an intention. That's to take my cartoon character to Comic-Con this year, and
Yes.
hopefully to license him to like the likes of Disney and major toy manufacturers.
Well, just tell him. Come on. And what is it? Is it one character? Or is it a whole
Well,
script?
it's one main character, and then he's got a family, but I'm kind of promoting him as the Smokey the Bear for the electronics industry.
Awesome. I love that. And Denny Love, this guy, we talked to him, it's his first time here at Unity, and I love how he's just saying it. He's like, Disney, Oprah, whatever. So, why not? Why not? We forget how powerful we are. My goodness. We sell ourselves short so much. And that's one of the things that I've really, really learned in the last few years as I've been leading the spiritual community, watching people and watching myself, because I said we're all in this together, how we sell ourselves short. We forget that we are this magnificent expression of life. You are this power of God that creates worlds, that creates stars. Surely you can get the job of your dreams and the maid of your dreams. A hot maid, if that's what you want. Hot at 60, having a hot maid too, whatever. Why not? Somebody has to do it, why not you? So I love him, he's just telling it like it is. Why not Disney? Why not? That's awesome, I heard somebody else here. Okay, hold on just a minute.
I want to play jazz piano.
All right, well come on. Have you ever played piano before?
Yes.
Okay, so it's just a new adventure in piano playing. Awesome. Well, I'll make you a deal. The next time I come to speak here, which hopefully won't be 8 years from now, I'll have you come and play a song. Can I give you that as a challenge?
Yes.
We're going to help hold her accountable for that. There's nothing better in spiritual practice than sharing it with people and so you're held accountable.
We'll hold her accountable even before that.
Okay. I am very serious. My spiritual practice really changed when I got a prayer buddy who holds me accountable and asks me things like, did you go to yoga this morning? Did you spend time in meditation? Did you, and it's so powerful to have somebody just that holds you accountable, that says, did you do this? It really can shift everything. So we're going to support and love and uphold you in knowing that for next time around. Yes, all right.
I'm going to move my music and poetry career, my newfound career, hot at 75.
Hot at 75, I love it. Why not?
I want to create a musical screenplay to talk about our intimacy with the Mother Earth.
Yes. Well, that's,
I don't know how I'm going to do it.
yeah. I mean, and that's something I think that's in the forefront now. And by the way, I just want to say this. If you're worried about all the politics and all that, just let it be. God's in control. Everything's righting itself. Someone told me last year, the singer I know, John Scott, up in Nashville, which you should have him here. He used to be music director at Unity of Nashville. But anyway, he came to speak and sing for us at Unity of Metairie right after the election. And he got up and just said, everybody was still all upset. Whatever side you're on, it doesn't matter. And hopefully we're not even on sides. It's a round planet. But people were upset. That's all I know. Whichever way you were upset, you were upset. And anyway, John just got up and said, everybody here, let's just, break the ice. I know you're upset about the election, but let me tell you something. This was not an election. It was an X-ray. An X-ray just happened in our country and showed us what needs to be healed. You can't heal anything until you see what it is. You don't know what bones need to be fixed until you have that X-ray. So if you're worried about all that, let it go. Don't you know better than that? Don't you know that you're loved and adored by this beneficent Creator and that you'll be taken care of? So just get over it. Don't look at the crazy people on Facebook. I mean, my goodness. I mean, I've seen people blood pressure go up over some nameless face that they don't even look like that. It's probably a picture 20 years younger than they were now. So anyway, don't get me going on that. We just give our power away to too many people. To too many other things, and it comes back to what world do you want to create? What are your intentions? Remembering how powerful you are, because this is the key about as we start a new year and we're thinking about letting go and creating something new. You're creating if you are aware of it or not. You are by nature a creative being. And if you're not setting specific intentions, not resolutions, but intentions from that deepest place within you, you're going to be creating by default. You're just going to create by default. And then we wonder why the same thing happens over and over again. That's the reason. We're just thinking the same things over and over again. We're setting the same intentions over and over again. We have the power to create that life. Whatever is the great life for you, and it's different for everybody, you can have that. You definitely deserve it. When just a quick story, then we're going to sing a song about celebrating our abundance and celebrating the year that is to come. When I was at Unity in Nashville, as Reverend Carol said earlier, I worked up there on staff for almost 3 years. There was some point when I knew it was time to go. I just knew it was. And I didn't want to get the cosmic 2x4. You know what that is. If you don't know, I'll tell you quickly. The cosmic 2x4 is when you're in a situation, it doesn't matter if it's relationship, work, job, and you first hear a little tiny voice that says, it's time to leave. You should listen then and do it. Because usually we don't. We can think of a million excuses why not to do that. Then the month passes and it gets a little more uncomfortable. And then all of a sudden, people that we once loved being around at work, I'm using that as an example, all of a sudden become chaotic. And then a new boss comes in. And it just goes and goes until finally you get the cosmic 2x4 and they come in and you're just fired and you're buzzed out on the street. That's what I call the cosmic 2x4. You know what I'm talking about. Isn't it better just to do it when Spirit first tells us? Just do it. Don't wait for that. And I totally forgot the point. What was I talking about?
It was time for you to go from here.
Yes, thank you, Greg. I appreciate it. I went off on a tangent. I'm getting like my daddy. We may stay here all day. We got to eat chicken. We go to Popeyes upstairs. Anyway, I knew it was time to go, and I didn't want the cosmic 2x4. So without any net to fall onto, I took a leap of faith and gave my resignation. And I went to speak in New Orleans. I started speaking at the center that I'm at now, called Unity of Metairie in the suburbs, just as an excuse. I love people there, but it was a great excuse to go to New Orleans and get paid for it. So I had planned to go down there to speak, and I wanted to be back in New Orleans. I lived there in the 90s, and that call from my heart was there, that deep, deep calling. And I didn't know why, it was just there. Have you ever had a calling and there was no logical reason for it?
Yes.
Or have you ever walked into a city and just had some big resonant, energetic connection to it, and there's no reason why? I mean, those are all important signs for us to guiding us through our life. And I've always felt that way about New Orleans, and I wanted to be back in New Orleans. I had no idea how I was going to do it. I had no idea how I was going to make money doing it. I just said it's time to be back. And so almost my very last week in Nashville, I went to speak in New Orleans, and at the center I'm at now, the church. And I mentioned during the talk, I said, well, I want to let everyone know I've taken a leap of faith that I've left Unity of Nashville. I've got a few more weeks. And afterwards, the board president said, can I take you to lunch? And I said, sure, take me to lunch. And we went to lunch, and he said, would you like to become our minister? I'm like, huh? What? That's pretty random. The very next week, I went home to my last Sunday at Unity of Nashville, and the very next Sunday, without missing a beat, I became the minister at Unity in New Orleans. That's how Spirit works. That's how Spirit works, if you're willing to trust and listen. And 5 years later, it has been the most joyous, crazy, wonderful, exhausting adventure that I've ever had. Because when I first got there, we had 15 people. Now we got 110. So it's been a journey of just all kinds of things, and I'm just so grateful. So we have to listen for those intentions. And as I said, that's why resolutions don't work. They come from a sense of lack, from a sense of fear, from a sense of neediness. When we listen to the deepest, deepest desires of our heart, Spirit will never let you down. You're always going to be guided in the right direction. You're going to get clues along the way. You're going to get breadcrumbs. You're going to know what to do. I just wonder sometimes why we don't trust. I mean, at this point in my life, I look back and everything that I was concerned about at some point that seemed just life-shattering. I'll never make it through this. Well, guess what? I made it through and we're here. Any of you, anything that's ever happened to you, and we've all had those moments where you just thought, I won't make it through this. It's just too much. It's never going to get resolved. Well, guess what? It's resolved and you're sitting here. If it's been resolved every single time, why don't we trust? And I'm talking to myself here. Why don't we trust? It just baffles me how much it's going to take to get through my noggin, as my dad used to say, to realize how loved I am and how supported I am. I mean, there's a vast array of whatever you want to call it, mystical figures. Some people like to call them fairies. Some people like to call them spirit guides. They're there to help. You are not alone. And so as we set those intentions, my prayer for us is that throughout this year that we listen to Spirit and listen to the deepest desires of our hearts. You can't go wrong. And I was going to say one other thing I love, Abraham Hicks, you may be familiar with Esther Hicks, the material they do, which is wonderful, said something, and it just, still to this day, I heard it about 10 years ago, it still just rings so true with me. She says, and this is so great for like a Happy New Year time instead of revolution, she said, there's no way to have a happy life. You can only have 1,000,000 happy moments strung together, one by one, in every moment. You cannot have a happy life. A happy life is simply 1,000,000 or more happy moments strung together. And every moment we have the power to make that decision, to set intentions, to open ourselves up to something new and better. And why not? Be hot at 60. Be hot at 70. Whatever your thing is. I mean, not everybody's supposed to be Oprah, but you can get close if you want to. So we're going to do this song now. A little warning about this song. A couple years ago I did it in Canada, and someone stood up in the middle of it and said, you can do the Macarena to this beat. And she proceeded to do the Macarena. So if anybody feels compelled and you know the movements, now what's scary is that no matter what group I'm in, anytime I do this song, there is usually one person who knows all the moves, which is kind of horrifying. But But this is to start out our new year, which is simply, instead of thinking about a happy new year, think about the next happy moment. Think about the next happy moment. And yeah, that's a bumper sticker. I need to remember that one. So I've got to go back and DJ. And I think we have the lyrics for this. It's called The Abundant Celebration. So why don't we go ahead and all stand, and I can keep talking as I take the wireless mic back here. And we'll attempt again. Now this is simply an affirmation of celebrating our abundance. It very simply says, I celebrate my abundance. I celebrate my prosperity. I celebrate all of life's goodness, for all I need keeps flowing to me. More than I need keeps flowing to me. So, there we go. See, this kind of operetta. Be a little bit more mindful of the first one. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, here we go. I celebrate my abundance. I celebrate my prosperity. I celebrate all of life's goodness, for all I need keeps flowing to me. More than I need keeps flowing to me. Here you go, like, I am worthy, I am worthy, I am worthy, I am. I celebrate my abundance. I celebrate my prosperity. I celebrate all of God's goodness, for all I need keeps flowing to me. More than I need keeps flowing to me. I am worthy, I am abundant. I am worthy, I am abundant. I celebrate my abundance. I celebrate my prosperity. I celebrate all of God's goodness, for all I need keeps flowing to me. And more than I need keeps flowing to me. I am worthy, I am abundant. I am worthy, I am abundant. I celebrate my abundance. I celebrate my prosperity. I celebrate all of my goodness, for all I need keeps flowing to me. And more than I need keeps flowing. I am worthy, I am worthy, I am abundant. I am worthy, I am abundant. I celebrate my abundance. I celebrate my prosperity. I celebrate all my goodness, for all I need keeps flowing to me. And more than I need keeps flowing to me. Yeah! So I wanted to say that it was amazing to be with you all this morning. It's such an honor to come together. And as I said during the meditation, this is a holy encounter. Anytime that we come together like this, it's a holy encounter where we come together to really just to remind each other of our magnificence, to see that presence within each other. For as we see the Christ presence in everyone around us, so we more clearly see it within ourselves. And you've inspired me this morning. I've had truly a blast. I was going to say, I have some CDs of my music. If you enjoyed some of the music you heard today, you can take some. It's all life-affirming music, and I have some meditation CDs. You're welcome to stop and say hello and take some music with you. But thank you, Reverend Carol, for having me. It's just been amazing to be here and set those intentions, know how loved, know how wonderful you are, know how powerful you are, and just have a blessed and wonderful afternoon. Namaste, everyone.
Namaste.